We are live. This is the market update. Bitcoin breaks 115K. A spiritual transition, a spiritual gate to something new. And you're like, what? Trust me, using the work of William Gann, I am going to explain how breaking above 115 on the 11th day of the month and on the 24th anniversary of 9/11 could trigger a revolution, a cycle where the old order completes itself and a new cycle begins. Out of disorder and chaos comes a new cycle, a new revolution. Sound like I'm out of my mind? Well, you want to stick around and find out. I've also got a little treat for you. We're going to do a little coin of the day from the Gann model to give you a little sample of some of the things we're doing in the YouTube member area, as well as Patreon, right? Patreon YouTube member area was loaded prior to this rally, which has that creeping bid, particularly our platinum members and all of our friends over in YouTube with that Toby Ward podcast with two portfolios. Some of the stuff we like the best is going up the most. U.S. deficits are exploding. So we have social disorder, which I probably talked about too much yesterday, given the YouTube statistics. So I'm not going to go into it again today because I think the 9/11 in Gann terms harmonics, my humble attempt at that is more important. However, there are things that are going on. You know, government spending explodes. Unemployment and jobless claims, terrible. Saw a statistic this morning from Renmac. The probability that someone loses their job is not that high. However, if you do lose your job, the probability of getting a similar job back is at the lowest point since they started keeping track of the statistic. A sobering idea. It makes the case if you have a job, if you got any money. Toby talks about peanut butter and jelly instead of Starbucks. Get it into this market. There is only one way to participate in the new revolution, and everybody continues to sleep on it. And the extent of the Fed screw up is just, at this point, it's breathtaking, right? They waited way too long to hike rates, and the data shows they should have been cutting rates because of employment growth in February, right? And I don't even know, just like with inflation, I don't know how much they would have to do to try and get it all turned around, which is why S&P is making new all-time high, which is a simple reason why Bitcoin is breaking 115. The valuations of all these assets in AI and stonks in general, people outside of crypto are looking at crypto and going, why aren't they buying the market? You know, like Kyle Samani and friends are doing a SOL Treasury company, right? In other words, like small corporations, you can look at it as they're hedging themselves against a lower dollar, or they're just being absurdly speculative. Either way, they're buying crypto, but crypto isn't going up, which is sort of strange, right? But everybody's expecting a rally, and they're getting it slowly, which is causing a state of disbelief. And I'm trying to bust through that today with some Gann, fingers crossed, because the 11th day of the month on the 24th anniversary of 9/11 is significant using biblical numerology. Okay. A new cycle has begun, a new cycle born from chaos, a new cycle in terms of revolution, a new cycle in terms of how we view sovereigns. Possible revolution with the talk from yesterday. Personally, I think the best way to express a revolution is in the cryptocurrency markets. Toby has been saying for a long time that there's going to be a positive resolution to all these negative problems that are out there. And so here we are. So here we are. Is anyone paying attention? God, I hope so. You know, and when you look at some of the inflation disaster, you know, last 5 years, new cars up 20%, home prices up 50%, gas and utilities up 50%. Dozen eggs up 170%. I mean, you know, you need investments that can 10x. And I don't know outside of the robotics trade whether or not you're going to find that over in legacy. It's not in the bond market. It's not in most of the stock market. And the stock market is a classic example of what happens when everyone gets bearish and nobody believes what's going to happen. And that thing just sat up there at its high. And we'll go through the Bitcoin chart in a minute. Big boy's got a lot of room to go up. I mean, for big boy, right? I mean, if you look at this, if you look at some of this GAN work, right? There's the break above 114. Here it is. Whoop, there it is. Right? So on the 11th day, transformative, on the 24th anniversary of a huge event, you can have like a bottom, an inflection point, right? GAN used this 11-day cycle thing on tactical trading. So the 11th day is either a low or a high. What do you think looking at this chart with this breakout? This feels like an artificial, distressed selling BS. Market makers trying to get what they sold to Michael Saylor back. Michael Saylor's got a $5,000 a coin profit in what he bought at 110. And these guys are short and they are caught. And you got a lot of room here in big boy up to 125. That's like the middle of the premium zone. Hello. And XRP is back above $3. Again, no one's taking that seriously. I would encourage you to change your mind about that because, you know, you've had a lot of these big coins just go. And they've had value propositions the whole time. You know, you heard me talking about Avalanche and the C-Chain. You're like, okay, Bill, the Avalanche C-Chain for security tokens. Until BlackRock is talking about doing security tokens maybe on their closed blockchain. And I got a better idea. Why don't we do something different? Why don't we do something different? Right? In other words, even BlackRock is going to get disrupted by all this. This is an underrated theme that will eventually wind up on CoinDesk. The disruption of finance. The disruption of tech. Remember all that? 2010? Oh, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to disrupt this person. I'm going to disrupt that person. Okay. Well, guess what? All these characters, they're about to get disrupted. They're about to get disrupted. And, you know, the privacy theme, let's just say it quickly. I cannot emphasize it enough. I really can't. I cannot emphasize it enough. Skynet is here in like a non-movie-ish kind of way, right? You know, this is going to spread out, right? It starts with MultiCoin, okay, just doing $680 million worth of Solana. MultiCoin is probably sitting on it. I mean, they round trip Solana. They bought it at 30 cents, wrote it up to 220, wrote it back down to $10, and they still own it. So why not just go get more of it? You know, it's like a sole treasury company is like a subsidiary of a hedge fund. It's like another hedge fund. It's unbelievable to watch. Now, when you think about people's positioning here, like how are people in crypto positioned? Are they bullish? Probably. Are they long enough? Probably not. Who is long in this market? I think the people who are long in this market are the institutions that own the ETFs. But that's it. That's it. Right? And all the news and all the talk is about what happened yesterday. So everyone is distracted. Now, I understand what happened yesterday was very unfortunate, and I cannot talk about it at all. At all. Right? But here's what I can talk about. Let's take a little risk and let's try some GANN. Now, this is an on-the-fly sample for everybody based on what we do in Patreon Platinum. We use these things to generate, right, research. Like, I got to start saying this. This YouTube channel is the front end of a research service. A research service, right? In other words, we're picking coins, we're doing sector analysis, right? And if you look at the collection for Platinum Research, which I am going to pull up right now before we do the GANN work, we are using this GANN model to generate picks within picks, the HODL portfolio update, right? Which I'm happy to say included Ondo, which went straight up 30 minutes after we published it. Polkadot deep dive, rate cut coins, crypto stocks 2 weeks ago before all that went crazy. 6th Street Crypto podcast for all the things I can't say on YouTube. Please check that out. Now, the GANN work, I promised you. 115 is a spiritual gate. How do we know? GANN frequently drew from the Bible for both cycles and numerology. As I hinted at earlier, the number 11 is often tied to disorder, judgment, and, key word here, folks, transition. Transition. All right. You get the 10 commandments, and on number 11, that's when you go off into the unknown. So the 10 commandments were handed down, and step number 11 was to step into the unknown with that set of rules. Okay. Joseph, a biblical character, had 11 brothers, symbolizing division and betrayal before reconciliation. Speaking of division and betrayal, we got any of that going on lately, you think? You think? How about what happened yesterday? How about Uncle Sugar spending money like it's going out of style, which makes sense, right? Oh, we're collecting billions in tariff revenue. Yeah, and you're spending trillions. You're collecting tens of billions in tariffs, and you're spending hundreds of billions of dollars. GANN saw the 11th day as a pivot in cycles, right? Yet in markets, the disorder often clears the path for expansion. So the breakout above 115 and that GANN line on 9/11 is not an accident. Dates of significance repeat themselves. Now, there's another number that is interesting, and that's the number 12. Okay, in biblical math, 12 represents order, divine government, and completion. Okay, doubling it to 24 suggests a higher octave of order. In other words, a judgment or a reset moment. Gee, is Bitcoin the cryptocurrency of judgment and reset? How many other coins we have that represent judgment and reset? All of them? All of them. The 24th anniversary of 9/11 could be a psychological inflection point. In 2001, the system cracked. You can look up the whole Alex J story about what happened back then. You had Enron, you had accounting fraud, you had kind of a new geopolitical order, right? Where we started doing a lot of very expensive things. 24 years later, the new system, the higher order may be revealing itself, right? GANN taught that these like 12-year cycles, 12 times 2, 24, these anniversaries, like they have a vibration to them of completion. The market is telling you that a new financial order that was started in 2001, right? Or let me say this, the old financial order in a way ended in 2001, and the new financial order began today. You got to think about that for a second. Now, you may like this analysis. You may not like it. Hopefully, I explained it clearly that essentially today, September 11th, 2025, with the Bitcoin breakout, has some cyclical significance. I was around for 9/11. The guys who I went to high school with were in the top floor. So I remember what all that was like and what it was all about. Most people don't. Something new is trying to emerge. So in a way, it's a celebration that whatever ended in 2001, the new day dawns today. Now, maybe this GANN work is a little bit outside the box for most people, but that is a window into the model that helps us pick altcoins, organize portfolios, and then I sprinkle a little bit of Toby Ward in there, and voila, we have a research methodology that you can't find anywhere else. So as you sit there and as we all look at our screen, we look at the thumbnail today that says full risk on and Bitcoin crossing 116. Is it really so far-fetched? I don't think so. If you don't want that, well, I don't know. We got 10x altcoins for a repeat of 2017. We got the buy and the sell list. We got Pepe and Tobe printing money. Hidden heat, sizzling psychic picks, and the portfolio show, where if you need a vanilla portfolio, hey, man, you're not too late. You're not too early. You are right on time. Right on time for the coins in that portfolio. Some new ones. The DeFi coins that Toby liked, you know, guess who Chicken Boo took the report, bought the first coin. You know, the second coin is up 25% in 3 days. Can't tell you which one that is, but again, that's all in the GANN Patreon report area. One is paper reports. One is video. Can you believe, for anyone who was there, can you believe that the events of yesterday, you know, the chaos that seems to be ensuing in people's mood, right? It's really the mood. I mean, I'm looking at a video right now of the vice president, okay, escorting a casket of a civilian onto Air Force Two, his plane. So whatever that civilian was doing, that must have meant a lot to people. And, you know, this whole GANN idea about chaos, about the birth of a new thing, Bitcoin is the birth of something new. And this is an angle that the Bitcoin maximalists may not have, because it feels to me like they're all caught sleeping, except for Michael Saylor, who just bought the dip at 110, because, and I knew this, after they snubbed him for S&P 500, oh my God, he was just going to buy more. He's like, okay, you guys don't believe? Great. Excellent. Excellent. Just going to buy more at the market. At the market. I'm just going to get after it. Metaplanet and all these characters, the Solana Treasury people, Tom Lee's going to be heard from. Like, and the XRP Treasury has to be next. Like, I'm just wondering, like, I mean, I know Ripple's sitting on a ton of XRP unto itself. I'm wondering what happens when that gets going. Like, it's almost like lately we've had everything but XRP. The market has been rallying from the bottom up, right? I mean, we've had like a pop-up alt season for like 4 or 5 days. People are just kind of like maybe figuring that out now, right? Especially since you're getting that headline breakout in Bitcoin. XRP has done the dance around $3. And how long before that turns into a breakout and YouTube is flooded with enthusiastic retail buyers? You know, do you think retail investors and normal people need to hear the GANN Harmonics to know that something is up, that something is changing? I don't think so. I mean, I listen to this guy, Peruvian Bull, right? And I'm not sure exactly what it means, but he says the fact that this individual was hurt in broad daylight means no political sphere is safe anymore. He calls it the fourth turning is here. I haven't looked that up, but I don't really have to. I don't have to. This is an inflection point. Everyone's like, oh, the world is changing forever. Yeah, bro. And how is that going to get expressed? We're going to go out in the street and throw rocks at each other? We did that already. We did that already, right? What is the best way to push back against the system? Well, that's just develop a new system. Develop a new system, which is what's happening. Real world assets popped off yesterday. They're still going up. They're still going up. Okay, now I promised a surprise. I can't believe how many surprises I'm surprising you with today. It's unbelievable. I must be in an incredibly good mood. Who knows? Okay. Here's an example of a revolution. So, hydration. Stay hydrated, not liquidated. So this is not investment advice, but this is like a derivatives trading platform using Polkadot from our Polkadot deep dive. Noticing that this is followed by Investing Bros, a very savvy group of traders. Very savvy. Okay. And here they are talking about cross-chain innovation with Hyperbridge. You know how Toby's always talking about cross-chain? Voila. Cross-chain. And where did I get this from, by the way? The GANN model. The GANN model spits this out. The GANN model's thinking like GANN, and boom, you get the coin of the day. Hydration, finance made simple and unstoppable. Hello. I wonder what other coins I might be feeling generous about. I don't know, like Arrow's trading well. What else is there in base? What else is out there? What about Velodrome? I saw Discover Crypto did a big feature on that. I don't know, a couple of months ago. Anybody remember Velodrome? Coinbase comes back if ETH starts smoking. Now, is that so crazy? Like how many of, hey, take a look at this altcoin. It's not so crazy. It's not. Right? And I keep coming back to all these layer ones that could be at the focus of on-chain trading. Like we brought up TIA, Celestia early this morning. How many people were into that? I also saw MNT up today. I think that could be my old boss's top pick. God bless him if it is. That thing is mooning hard. You got coins that are moving. And that should tell you something. Because you know what? Toby Ward told you this all year, that this was going to be the way it was. You were going to have bucket and sector-based rallies. And what have you got right now? Bucket and sector-based rallies. Imagine that. Toby Ward got the call right. You know, when have I ever gotten on this thing going, oh, well, you know, Toby Ward's having a tough time. You know, she's going to go touch grass and, you know, go on a spiritual retreat. No. The woman's never been wrong about anything ever. So that podcast that we did was killer. She thought it was the best thing we've ever done because we're taking these GANN reports, we're cooking up something special, and we go over, you know, other ones that we've released. in a conversational format. Amazing. Amazing. Speaking of amazing, let's talk about another crypto asset that everyone is sleeping on. So this is NEAR. Now, obviously, what's NEAR done? Nothing, except the bigger the base, the higher in the space. But let's take a look at the tactical view, right? How much room does this have? This looks like a trend that's just starting. Here we have one of those candles that I've been referring to for multiple days, where the thing rushed up, bag holders sold it, but it didn't go red. And there was no follow through on the downside. So sellers sold it. It didn't go down. If something's supposed to go down and it doesn't, what's it going to do? It's going to go up. Where's the next resistance point? 329. Where's it trading right now? 276. I mean, this has got like everyone rushing in. It's like gradually and then suddenly. This textbook. It is. So Tao for Big Rich. I know you're out there, brother. Okay. How much room you got? Well, you know, they banged on this floor for, I don't know how long. You know, the next level on a DeMark chart is 508. Solana versus ETH. Notice this subtle move through resistance. Notice this retest yesterday with Solana underperforming and then coming back. Hello. Hello. You know, Solana versus Ethereum is inside this air pocket, right? There's not a whole lot of resistance here, right? Speed, magnitude, and direction. What goes down a certain way, like, two major dumps in a row, could wind up being two God candles on the way up, which means you could have Solana and its whole ecosystem smoke to the upside. I mean, it's everywhere. XRP has spent a lot of time on top of these old highs from February. Like in many ways, XRP is building a base on top of an old resistance point. I remember this was this seems like some sort of like Orange Man tweet about crypto that was quickly reversed. A potentially big inflection point. Look, let me ask you something. I know Bitcoin represents kind of the new world order, but I mean, what else is there, right? Is there a new world order, right? I mean, the promise of XRP has never been fulfilled. Never, right? It reset itself as an American-made crypto and hasn't done anything since. Can XRP become a form of money? A stablecoin highway? A treasury asset? I mean, if anybody should be buying this as a treasury asset, I would think it's big players in the Middle East, Asia, and Africa. People who need to move money outside the banking system or inside the banking system using XRP somehow. Everybody's going to get disrupted here. Tech, Wall Street, banks, stock exchanges, all of them. Even the AI companies can get disrupted. All you need is a couple of agents or a couple of protocols that go in a robot that come from the decentralized world of crypto for this to be like R2-D2 activates the hyperdrive and the Millennium Falcon just takes off. It can happen. It may be happening as we speak, right? If you go to the TA, for say Ethereum backed off its premium zone, and there's no reason why ETH can't print 5K. It might be a stretch to go through 5K because the resistance zone is here. But I mean, what does CoinDesk, what does the news look like if XRP prints 5K. And again, this cup and handle, and then you have this. Somebody was trying to tell me that this thing was bearish, this wedge. I don't think so. Now, you got Solana at its premium zone because it's been really sideways. Money's been flooding into Solana the entire time. It's been in this disgusting chop that probably just like rotted out your mind. That just rotted out your mind. Okay. Someone is asking for TIG, the innovation game. Again, DeMark support. I'm sorry, LuxAlgo support. And look at them. Look at this give up trade. Do you know how much of this stuff there is out there in crypto? I know I say that every day because there is a lot of stuff out there. And Toby is like, in terms of shopping, the way I would describe it is TikTok, 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 TikTok. Mall may be closing soon for cheap stuff. TikTok, TikTok, TikTok. Let's welcome who's here. We have Bull Runner first on the stream. Guess who? Chicken Boo in the house. Am I sharing the screen? Hal Lopez up in the middle of the night in Florida. YouTube members, Tyler Hall from the Antivirus Universe. Nick, a new member. Where do you recommend I buy Anti? Dude, I like Anti anywhere near 3 million market cap or just below. You know, I don't think you have to worry about paying too much for Anti for quite some time. It's been in a range. It's been in a range, but they're releasing a new product on Friday. They're calling it like a metadata cleaner. I don't know if that's what they're calling it, but basically you can download and upload without giving away your location and everything they've ever known about you. It's crazy. I mean, the fact that that's even necessary, it's unbelievable. Where do you recommend? Oh, where do you recommend I buy Anti? Okay, well, that's like, Jupiter, Radium. It's on a decentralized Solana exchange, right? They have it on things like MEXC and all that, but I do it on a decentralized basis, right? And again, as always, just be careful what you click on. Warmon is here. What's up? Gian, Shelly, welcome. Wolf Riot Star, Ben from Down Under. Vonisme, Johnny 5 is alive. A new name. Welcome. Joseph from Brazil. Daniel J from the Jersey Shore. Bubba Fruniti. It looks like Sui may be the winner, dude. You know, we got a few new reports out. Did I mention that? Can't believe what she said about Sui 2 weeks ago. Holy wow. I mean, I've heard people say something is going up, but Toby Ward is a writer, and occasionally, more than occasionally, I mean, occasionally you get a big vocabulary word, and then that I have to look up because I'm a knuckle dragger. And then there are these things that she says that have these like these like spiritual, undertones that just make you go. When someone asked about Sui, find out now 7, Satish Kumar. Tell about XRP, bro. I'm on it. People have no idea. See, people want to talk about XRP going to $589. What I want to talk about is what happens to the market if XRP breaks out and retail comes in here FOMOing in hard. That's what I want to talk about, because that's what XRP can do as kind of a leading indicator or a lead coin. Everything else is starting to pop off. You could have Bitcoin go up $10,000. You could have Bitcoin at 125 tomorrow. As far as I'm concerned, after that GAN litany I just read you, right? Absolutely, absolutely could have it. Just send it. Crypto crazy knowledge dump. ADL is here. Caroline, the storyteller, right? I feel like I should be rereading Armageddon to go with today's analysis. You know what, people? It's Armageddon for the old way of thinking. I saw someone yesterday, and I probably shouldn't say this either, but I saw a guy that said, you know, Americans tolerate a lot of baloney on the news, but they didn't care because they could get a house or a car or whatever. Yeah, that's changed. No one's buying the baloney anymore. And if you don't buy into what they're saying, then you just get on Coinbase or you just go somewhere. And the best idea is your idea. Speaking of idea, I actually forgot to look at the chart in hydration. And I'm pleased to say that, you know, you do have a bit of bigger the base to higher in the space because it's just been down here. But what I also know is you have what I call the Synthetix formation. You know, I remember being on a show with my old boss and BitBoy. And we're looking at what was coming out of the token metrics model. And what came out was Synthetix. And I realized that that AI that they have knew how to read what I call two waves. Meaning it sees a square range. That's where I got it from. I mean, I know what the square range looked like, but when I saw what the AI read it that they had, okay, and I knew, and ETH does the same thing. This is a square range in whatever this is. Now, even if this is not what moves, this is in the Polkadot universe. There are universes that no one even knows about. Do you know what's in the Cardano ecosystem? Do you know what's in the Algorand ecosystem? What about Hedera? I mean, you know, Hedera has Karate Combat and Wendy O. I'm sure there's a lot more to it. I'm sure there is. Right? But, you know, you got to like DYOR on some of this stuff quickly. You know, because this market does not appear to be in the mood to sit around and wait. You know, Ondo is now up over $1. Like, here's your Ondo chart. I mean, you only see charts in crypto like this. Like, I don't know, you might see them like every year or two, where you've just got this endless basing process. You know, maybe you got a head and shoulders bottom with that upward sloping neckline. You got a clear 5-wave bottom and an end of the downtrend. And it's just waiting for an announcement. It's just waiting to go up. Right. And then, you know, it goes, you know, if you look at the tactical, like it just let's look at 89-minute Ondo. You know, straight up, sideways, straight up, sideways, straight up, right into like a tactical premium zone. I mean, what is in any way unclear about how this stuff is moving? When you have crypto moving like legacy, where it's like up, sideways, dude, that's an undervalued market. Technical analysis is about figuring out the nature of the price action. The nature of the price action is that some of this stuff is way too cheap. And if you look at something like Synthetix, here is your Toby Ward suppressed formation, your downward sloping wedge, right? The basketball underwater, let go of the basketball. Whoop. This is happening across all markets. Right? And then, you know, you just have to make sure you remind yourself by looking at S&P. Right? S&P driving deep into the premium zone. Because the press conference of shame is coming, which is Powell, which we have discussed. Powell is going to say something to indicate that there's a problem, because there is a problem. The numbers are fake. His interest rate policy is based on fake numbers. You are this close to social disorder. And the only way he could stop that is to do a 75 basis point rate cut. Like 25 would be a disappointment. 25 would be stupidity. 50 is probably assumed. And the only way he could get anybody's attention I think, is to do something bigger, to say, okay, we're making a big adjustment. But irregardless of what he does, as soon as he does it, he admits there's a problem. Might they sell the fact in stocks? Maybe. Okay. But it's by the fact in crypto. It's by the fact in crypto. I mean, look at this. I mean, am I reading this right? That like Galaxy was up another 10% today? Galaxy's involved in this Solana Treasury company. It's like, boom, not even close to its premium zone. Oh, stable coins are back. CIRCL up 17%. If you were interested in buying that stock, I'm not particularly interested. And don't forget the robot trade in Tesla, right? I mean, it's at its premium zone, but and the stock is ridiculously expensive by finance metrics, but the robot trade has not been done. And I think the robot trade is also connected to the crypto trade because it's a disruptor. I mean, one guy I know is saying it quietly. Another guy like me is saying it, I don't know, like I'm singing it from the top of a mountain. So Avalanche hits resistance, but it's broken out of an upward sloping accumulation cone. In other words, it's constructive. It's outperformed lately. So maybe it takes, I don't know, a 2-day break. But if you look at the big picture in a lot of these coins, right, Avalanche weekly, the equilibrium zone is at 36. And money flow hasn't even gone positive yet. I mean, the amount of room here is nuts. I mean, we haven't looked at Cardano weekly. We haven't looked at Cardano because we haven't looked at Cardano. I remember what BitBoy said once about the guy from Cardano, and he said, everything that guy says, he believes. So if he has a view, it's not BS. He believes it. Do you realize the equilibrium zone in Cardano is $1.61? And that would just be getting to the top of one of these bullish accumulation things. I mean, you got a lot of room in these things. And everyone's like, yeah, Cardano doesn't do anything. Yeah, it doesn't do anything maybe today. But somebody makes an announcement tomorrow, that changes everything. Everything, right? Crypto Plumber says Gemini is going to explode. I got to be very careful with equities and IPOs when I talk about it. The market is telling you. The market is telling you that all of this is too cheap. It's too cheap. I mean, you have individuals in AI making $100 million, and most AI projects are not worth $100 million. They aren't. Right? The repricing, this is what legacy nerds call it. The repricing of this market could be dramatic. You got the solar eclipse coming up on the 22nd. You have the 11th day as a big GAN inflection day as things start breaking out. You have the 25th anniversary, a 24th anniversary of a major event. Is it so ridiculous, given the way this thing is trading, to make some of those connections? I don't think so. I don't think so. Like, the market is closed, and this thing looks as green as it did when I did my first stream this morning. Like, just like, what has Jupiter done? I keep talking about the Solana ecosystem. What has Jupiter done? Absolutely nothing. People are acting like these things don't even exist, like they're dead. Hedera. I mean, Hedera did a nice little, like, what, 38, 50% retracement? Toby's a big fan of the 50% retracement level. I mean, how long do you think it's going to take, honestly, if something like this starts going up? for Wendy O to start pounding the table with 1 million followers across all socials. Right? These coins, they have sponsorship, meaning they have people who will go out and make a whole bunch of noise. Okay, Doge is now moving. Okay, there was a big head and shoulders bottom in Doge that really, I don't know, man, it turned into something different. It turned into a head and shoulders bottom with a triangle, and it broke out at the apex. So you can make fun of the Doge ETF, but it appears to have gotten Doge going, and Doge is, that's a big coin. Somebody was asking about virtuals yesterday. Virtuals is not even, it's not even at equilibrium yet. If you look at the perpetual contract, I don't know why anybody would give up on AI at this point. Because you can make an argument that it hasn't even started. You can make an argument that it hasn't even started. Here's Sky. This is what Maker used to be, right? It's the rebrand of Maker, a DeFi protocol. Sitting at equilibrium, it has done absolutely nothing. What do you think is going to happen with these protocols if ETH prints 5K? Like Bitcoin prints 125, Solana prints 300, ETH prints 5,000. What happens? I just think retail comes in. DNT Saver says Binance Coin hit a new all-time high today. Dude, there are signs out there. Everyone's always like, when alt season? Dude, you're having alt season from the bottom up, and I don't think anyone sees it yet. Of course, now you do. Now people are just starting to wake up to the fact that this thing is just like moving slowly higher. And, even if there are dips, people may wind up getting discouraged by dips. Then again, if you're in a revolution, if you're in something new, if a new cycle has begun, if even half of that GAN number is real, half of that GAN work is real, and we really are, thanks to the events of yesterday, on the verge of something totally new. It doesn't have to be something negative. You want to fight the system? Good. Good. You've come to the right place. Crypto is not known for that yet. And it certainly is here. Okay, people. Crypto Plumber 589, welcome to the show. Want to thank everybody for coming in. Want to make sure you visit Patreon, right? The links are in the descriptions down below. Eagle King was not here today to show all the cool QR codes. I know y'all are already members, but that's the QR code for the YouTube member area. And Patreon, the best research bargain in the business. So you have a research bargain and Toby Ward. Other than that, we don't have any research offerings. We will see you tomorrow.